Someone is being buried alive, and they don't know it yet. You're breathing without thinking about it. He wasn't given that choice. Darkness. He opens his eyes. He can't move his arms. He can't see anything. Then he hears it. Dirt hitting wood from above. He screams. No one hears him. He pounds on the lid. Nothing happens. This isn't a nightmare. This actually happened to a real person. In the 1800s, doctors made a mistake that changed everything. And it happened more than once. A woman was pronounced dead. Fever. No pulse. No breath. The doctor signed the certificate. She was buried the next morning. 3 days later, they moved her grave. What they found changed medicine forever. Her fingernails were torn. Scratch marks lined the inside of the coffin. The satin lining was shredded. She hadn't died before the funeral. She died after it. You'd think that was the worst case on record. It wasn't even close. In 1885, a man named Angelo Hayes crashed a motorcycle. Doctors declared him dead at the scene. His family buried him within hours. French law required it. But his father had doubts. 2 days later, they exhumed the coffin for a life insurance investigation. When they opened it, he was still breathing. Barely, but breathing. He survived. He lived for decades afterward, but he never spoke about what those 2 days felt like. Some things, apparently, are worse than dying. Then there's the case that shook an entire town. A teenage girl in Wales, pronounced dead from a fever, buried in the family plot. Weeks later, gravediggers working nearby heard something. Faint, rhythmic, coming from underground. They dug through the night. By the time they reached her coffin, the sound had stopped. They opened it anyway. Her hands were raised, frozen, pressed against the lid. You'd think doctors would have caught on by now. They didn't. Because the deeper problem wasn't bad luck. It was that dead wasn't something they could actually measure. Word started to spread. Not just rumors, documented panic. By the late 1800s, surveys estimated that public fear of premature burial was so widespread, entire industries formed around it. This fear had a name: taphophobia. Edgar Allan Poe wrote about it obsessively. Some people left written instructions demanding their veins be cut open before burial. Just to be sure. Just to make certain the coffin wasn't a mistake. Because by now, everyone had heard a story like this. And nobody wanted to be the next one. So they built a solution. A coffin with a bell attached. A string ran from the bell, down through the lid, into the corpse's hand. If you woke up, you pulled the string. The bell rang above ground. Someone was supposed to be listening. It sounded brilliant. Cemeteries started installing them across Europe. Some designs went further. Breathing tubes, escape hatches, glass viewing panels built into the lid. One patented design included a ladder inside the coffin. It should have solved everything. It didn't. Bodies decompose. They shift. They release gas. Coffins settled. Strings pulled on their own. Bells rang constantly. Some nights, cemeteries sounded like alarm rows going off one after another. Guards assigned to listen stopped listening. After enough false alarms, they assumed every bell was decomposition. Which meant if someone really did wake up, no one was coming. The system built to save lives had trained people to ignore the warning. But even that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what came before burial. Doctors had no reliable way to confirm death at all. Comas looked like death. Catalepsy looked like death. Even deep hypothermia could stop a pulse completely and still not mean death. Some doctors tested for signs of life by pouring boiling liquid on the skin. Others held a mirror to the mouth, waiting for fog. Some pinched the corpse, shouted at it, pressed pins under fingernails. If none of that worked, it was called confirmed. Not because they were certain, because they ran out of tests. You'd think this could never happen today. Medicine is advanced now. We have machines, we have brain scans. But cases are still reported. In 2011, a woman in Brazil was pronounced dead after a stroke. Hours later, at her own wake, mourners heard her breathing inside the coffin. In 2014, a man in South Africa woke up in a hospital morgue refrigerator. He'd been misdiagnosed after a car accident. He banged on the metal door for over an hour before anyone heard him. The tools changed. The uncertainty didn't. Which brings us back to him, the man in the coffin, the one who woke up underground. At first he thought it was a dream. Then his hands hit wood on every side. He clawed at the lid until his fingers split open. He screamed until his throat gave out. No bell, no string, no guard listening above. Just dirt, packed tight, getting heavier with every breath he used trying to escape it. Historians believe cases like his happen far more often than official records admit, because most of them were never discovered. Most graves were never reopened. Most bells were never installed in the first place. Which raises one last question. How many graveyard ghost stories, the scratching, the moaning, the tapping heard at night, weren't ghosts